So I guess my question is then, if a guy asks you out on a date, who should pay?
I think that it could be if a guy goes to pay first, I'll let him. But if there is a little bit of hesitancy, I will offer, like, I think that paying half, each pay.
That's fair. We'll go around the table on this. Actually, if you want to start over here. So a guy asks you out on a date.
If he's the one who asks me out, I think that he should pay. And if he can't pay, then I'll pay, and then he won't get a second date.
I kind of feel like the person who asks should pay, but then again, it's like if the person who asks wants it to be 50-50, it's not that big of a deal to me.
Yeah.
Would there be a second date though?
Yeah, I don't see a problem with that, especially if it's a first date and it's nothing serious.
Okay, so the guy asks you out, and maybe say you go get some food, or you're not 21 yet, right?
No, I'm not.
Okay, so yeah, you wouldn't like go get drinks at the bar or something, but the check comes, or the waiter comes by and he says, "Hey, can we get separate checks?" You wouldn't feel a certain type of way about that?
No.
Okay, that's totally
I don't
fine.
really think I would care. I kind of am weird about people paying for me, like in general though.
Same.
So I feel like sometimes when you go out with someone, it's just more comfortable to just pay for yourself and do it 50-50. It really just depends on like how everything's going and how serious it is.
Actually, I just realized on dates, what I do is when the check comes, I will ask, do you want to split? I will ask, do you want to split? And then it's up to them whether they want to say, no, I would like to pay, or sure, that sounds fine. And if it's a sure, that sounds fine, there'll still be a second date depending on the chemistry that we had in that dinner.
Mm-hmm.
Did you get to answer the question?
No. So I like when a guy pays, but again, it's not necessarily a deal breaker if he doesn't, especially if I feel like I have a connection with him and I like him. But normally if a guy asks me out and I say yes, like it's a normal expectation that he would pay. But again, like I'm not going to just be like, no, I don't like you because you didn't pay.
Yeah, I think for me, my assumption usually is just that it's going to be 50-50. Like, when the check comes, like, I'm going to start getting out my card. And if he's like, oh, no, like, I got it. I'm like, that's nice. Thank you. But my assumption was that it would be 50-50.
Okay.
And if it is 50-50, then there's no issue.
Fair. Did you answered right, I think. Do you two want to go ahead and answer?
I agree. I think if whoever's asking first, especially when it comes to a first date, you don't really know what the expectations are. It would be nice for a guy to pay, but at the end of the day, I really don't mind. And what me and my boyfriend have done is switch. This date, he gets it. This date, I get it. Or this next date, we go 50-50. So it really depends.
I agree with her. I feel like if a guy is asking me out on a first date, he's the one asking me, so I want him to pay. Because I feel like that also just, like, I don't know, that shows me kind of, like, his character. Like, he's, like, more serious at first, But let's say, like, we were actually to, like, pursue a relationship, like, be in a relationship, like, based on my last one, like, I would pay for some stuff, you know what I mean? Mm-hmm. I wouldn't, like, be like, oh, he has to pay for everything. Like, I'm going to pay from time to time.
I agree, but I feel like a first date is, like, a very specific thing. Mm-hmm. Like, I feel like if a guy asks me out on a date, it's kind of expected that he would pay. But, like, going on, like, later on in dates, like, I don't mind. I think it just depends.
Yeah, I agree with that. In my past relationships, there's been many times where, like, I've paid for both of us. Like, but I feel like overall, like, with the boyfriends I've had, they've generally paid more.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I guess the reason I asked is just because we were talking about not being upfront with the romance, but I mean, I guess you could say men paying on the first date is them adhering to their traditional gender role. So I guess sort of for those of you who said the guy should pay, my question is, how do you kind of reconcile your stance insofar as having, I'm using a lot of filler words there, Jesus Christ, insofar, ergo, vis-a-vis, how do you reconcile this idea of, Jesus, the guy not being upfront with romance, but also expecting the guy to pay on the first date? How do you reconcile that?
Wait, I'm sorry. I'm confused. Say that again.
Of the women that said they, like, for example, you said that if a guy asked you out on the date and he said to go 50-50, you'd pay, but there wouldn't be a second date. How do you reconcile that with guys should not be upfront with their romance or their traditional gender roles?
Well, I think if a guy asks you on a date, it's assumed that I feel like he has to make his intentions clear. You know, if he's like, I want to take you on a date to pursue a relationship later on, then that's different. But if it's like, oh, let's like casually go out, that's like different. You know, I just feel like it all comes down
Wait,
to
so
being
hold
clear.
on. If a guy asks you on a first date and he's like, I'm interested in pursuing a relationship with
Yeah.
you, then you'll be like, okay, well, actually, we can go 50-50?
Well, no,
or is that
like I said, like a first date is completely different than like a relationship later on. Like if a guy asked you out on a date, then it's assumed that he's gonna pay for the date because he's the one who asked you out. If you're like, let's go out together, like if you're the one who says something, then that's different. But I feel like it's just, I don't know, it's just assumed that if a guy's the one who asks you out, he's the one who pays.
I disagree.
Why?
Well, I mean, we all believe in equality, right? I mean, right? You know, equality, that whole thing, that's kind of cool. So, shouldn't we just, whenever you go on a date with someone, shouldn't we just each pay 50-50? Just you pay your bill, he pays his.
But if he's the one who asked me out, he's the one who asked me on the date.
Have you ever asked a guy out on a first date?
No, I haven't. Because they've asked me on the date.
But so that's the thing, though.
But like later on in a relationship, like for example, in my relationship, on the first date he paid, but later on we took turns paying for stuff. Like for example, I would buy him stuff that's not necessarily a date. Like I would be like, oh, let me just like order you something.
But we're talking
or,
first
like,
date. We're talking first date.
First date, the guy pays.
First date, guy pays.
Yes.
I disagree.
Okay.
I feel like it's got to be assumed that it's 50-50 off the bat. It's just like no matter what, then you're just reinforcing the stereotype that men do have to
No,
pay.
but here's the thing. I don't think that she's necessarily wrong because there's a lot of women that are all for 50-50, but there are definitely some women that if the guy asks, he should pay. And I think it's okay for women to have that standard. Everyone can have their preferences, right? But how it's hard to reconcile the guy should pay with I believe in equality, we're equal, we're all equals.
Yeah.
Well, you're kind of saying we're not equals.
That's what I mean. It's like I don't know. I feel like the assumption it just reinforces the stereotype that it should
But
be
maybe
met, but
that's the type of
Like, sure, you
relationship
can-
she wants.
just seems
she-
like you want to get free food. Like I just feel like you're not
That could be
trying to
it.
get, because no matter what, like if you're trying to get to know someone, going out on a date like to a restaurant where you have to pay, like that's not going to change like getting to know the person. I feel like 50-50, it's like, okay, you're equally paying to get to know each other. It's not like they're like paying you for your time.
Yeah, but if a guy's like, let me take you out, that means he's the one taking me out. Why am I going to go 50-50 if he's the one taking me out? Later on in a relationship, second, third, fourth date, that's different. But I feel like first date is first impression. And if off the bat you're telling me we have to split, that's a red flag to me. You're not going to get a second date.
Yeah, I agree with that because, like, it's the first date and they're the ones that want to pursue you at first. And, like, you want to see if you want them too, but they're the ones
Yeah.
who, like, approached you first.
Exactly.
So, and I feel like by them paying for the first date shows that they take you more seriously than asking you to split it. Like, if a man asked me that on the first date,
Yeah.
like, and he was the one who, like, wanted me at first,
Yeah.
I feel like, yeah, I wouldn't go on a second date. That's just me, though. But when we actually are in a relationship, yeah, I will
That's
split it.
different,
Like,
yeah.
I trade off. Like
For
you guys
sure.
were saying, like, pay for some things and he pays for some things.
Yeah, I mean, I think the issue though with the whoever asks should pay is, I mean, I know you're an outlier because apparently you do all the asking, but de facto, the vast majority of the time, men are going to have to be the ones that initiate. So men are the ones that have to ask for the date. So de facto, men are the ones that are going to, there's going to be a sort of a presumption that, not in all cases, but that the guy's going to have to pay. So if your answer is whoever asks should pay, you might as well, your position might as well be the guy should pay. on the first date, because vast majority of the time, and I feel like people like the age at this table is pretty young, so some of you might not have even been like on a proper, like the guy asks you out to go get food or something. I don't want to speak for you guys, but I feel like at least when you're younger, a lot of dating, hooking up is just like, let's hang out somewhere, like it could be within a friend group, let's meet up after a party or like stuff like that. So whereas I think once you get a bit older, then it starts to become a bit more proper in terms of let's meet here at this time, let's
Yeah.
get drinks,
Well,
let's go get food, whatever it may be.
And also because at that time, more people are going to be wanting to look for something that's long lasting or someone that they're getting married to, and that's not traditionally what a younger crowd is looking for. Yeah, there are some outliers there. There are some people that, do want to settle down quite early, and good for them. But yeah, the tone of people who are dating who are younger are not traditionally defined their soulmate, their life partner.